think students should defend their rights to get paid the legal amount and what they deserve, actually. But I'm sure there are places still pushing their employers to get underpaid. It never goes away to anywhere.
This week on Dirty Linen, we are talking about the topic that everybody is talking about in the hospitality industry, and that is staffing. Restaurants are really stretched, and one of the, solutions to that issue has been the increase in allowable working hours for international students. There's a lot of discussion around that, but I don't think we hear enough from the students themselves. So today we are chatting to an old friend of Dirty Linen. It is Tugce Bayrakdar, an international student from Turkey who's been living here for a while and who I was very honoured to meet as part of the Attica Soup project. Tugce, welcome back to Dirty Linen.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's so great to have you. It's always really good to talk to you. So Tugce, we met at the Attica Soup project when you were an international student who had lost your work in lockdown. We always loved seeing you and Alper, your husband, and your other housemates when you came along. You're always such bright presences. But tell me where you're working now.
I'm at the moment working at Attica Summer Camp, which was an amazing journey for me. It's coming to an end soon, but it was lovely to work there. After I joined the soup project, it was kind of my dream to work with the team. So I'm happily working with them at the moment. And yeah, it's been great, actually.
Tell me about when you first moved to Melbourne and you ended up living not that far from Attica. What was one of the things that you did?
Yeah, I was following Attica before I come here, actually. And it was, like, as I said, it was one of my dreams. So I realized that I'm in the same street with Attica, and I immediately run out from the house and just try to find where it is. It was a humble restaurant, and I couldn't see. I passed it in front of it twice, and I found it finally. There was a small sign at the front, and I touched it, and I said, like, one day. And it was amazing, actually, to see it. I was that close to the restaurant. So, yeah, it's kind of a funny story now.
It's great. So Attica Summer Camp, as you say, it's closing soon. It ran from January through to the end of May in the Yarra Valley. Tell me what it's been like working there.
Oh, it's been great. It is a bit away from the city, but it's a great place to look around. It's an amazing environment, like it's in the middle of the nature. And great team we have at the moment. It's a bit sad that we are going to leave soon, but it was crazy in the beginning. We were rushing all the time. We are still rushing, don't get me wrong. But team started to get along more. They started to know each other more. So we feel more like a team. So it's a great work environment, and I like my teammates. As I said, it's a bit sad that it's gonna end soon, but yeah, like, amazing place, amazing food, amazing environment. People were happy. Still happy to work there. So, yeah,
it's great. I was fortunate to have a meal out there with my family, and sadly you'd already left that day, but all the prep you did made everything so delicious. It's so different to Attica in, I guess, the format. It's a la carte. The food is just super tasty, quite simple. And just, really clever. And I guess the most famous dish that's come out of Attica Summer Camp in its short life has been this rotisserie potato, which is a little bit like a Hasselback potato where it's got these thin slices through it, but it's cooked on a rotisserie, which is such a simple tweak, I guess, to cooking a potato, but it's also so radical. And to me, it's an interesting insight into Ben Shuri's mind, the way he takes really it's really simple ingredients and just transforms them in ways that seem quite magical in the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like to watch him working with the food and understanding how he's thinking about it, it's a great experience for me, actually. And yeah, I had dinner as well myself. And yeah, it's a great experience when you sit down too.
Great. Well, let's move on to the topic of the day, which is staffing. And I particularly was interested to chat to you to get your experience from the time you came here as an international student. We hear a lot about students. You know, there's students are spoken of as cheap foreign labour, you know, as fodder for industry, often. Well, people say, you know, disrespected, underpaid, forced into unsafe working conditions, but we don't often hear from the students. So that's why you're here today. What I would love to start with is what you were told about Australia and about the working environment before you got here.
I heard before I come here, it's a really fair environment. No racism almost, and really multicultural. Everyone is respected to each other. People are paying workers really fairly, and yeah, generally it was like that. And I knew before I come here that I was going to have only 20 hours working permit, and I was a bit worried before I come here, and I didn't exactly know if it's going to be enough or no. But after I come here, I kind of struggled to find a job as a student because when you're working as a chef, 20 hours is not enough actually to contribute to work. So being a part-timer, it makes it really difficult to find a job. And after you find it, it also you can't improve your hierarchy in the kitchen as well, because if you want to be better, get better, you have more experience. And also, for example, if you want to be a sous chef, 20 hours is nothing to stay in a kitchen and run a kitchen actually. So yeah, I've been
So what did you do?
So I started to search for other things, and couldn't find it at the beginning. So yeah, I tried to manage my life as well as possible, and started to search for other options. And I tried to stay in that limit. And like I heard most of the time, my friends are getting exploited in their workplace. They are getting offered to work. They are underpaid, and the worst thing about this is restaurants are making the students feel as they are making a favor to them. And for example, if you're working hourly working salary is 20 hours, when they are offering you like hours more than 20, they are making it to $15-16 per an hour. So still the amount of hours that you work is a lot, but the salary is not enough to like continue to your life normally. So it's a lot of stress when you do that, because you're always taking a risk and feel like a criminal when you're working in a restaurant, and just like making you so nervous, and you just want to continue to your life and stay safe, living a quality life and experience Australia as well as possible.
And I mean, you talk about, you know, your impression of Australia was that it was multicultural and people were treated fairly. But do you think, in your experience and for what you heard, do you think that students tend to stick to their language groups and sort of get lost in these sort of, I guess, enclaves where they feel like they can't, I guess, break out into wider society?
Yes. So in the beginning, they feel like they had to stick with their own nationality because it feels more safe, and they don't know how the system works, what is superannuation, how it should be. We don't know at the beginning. So when you're working with a bunch of people with your own language, that you feel more safe. But the worst thing is, you get exploited more because they can manipulate you really well, since you are trusting them at the beginning and they are telling you, you can't find anywhere, like any job anywhere, so you have to kind of stick with us forever. So they use this situation against students, and a lot of students were suffering. A lot of my friends were suffering. They were feeling kind of trapped in the restaurant because they weren't thinking they are good enough. They are not speaking properly English. They won't understand other places, so they didn't even apply. And it's a circle that happening all the time.
It's really unfair. I mean, was there any information, whether from the government or from the educational institutions, that helped you navigate and negotiate these things?
Not really. When you are applying for your visa, you only get notified that you have 20 hours working permit, and you shouldn't just pass that 20 hours. But other than that, nothing actually. Especially I experienced this during the lockdown. So I always try to follow what's going on and what other options that I can have, because I lost my job during the pandemic. So I needed the job. And international student group was posting these kind of news, and it wasn't enough because we got help from Red Cross, and also other organizations helped as well. But it is a one-time thing, and still doesn't help you enough to continue to your life for a year, actually, because you lost your job. There's nothing out there, little bit of help, and legally nothing changes, and environment has been changed, but nothing changed for the student, and even got worse, actually.
Because, of course, you still needed to pay your course fees, you needed to pay your insurance, obviously you needed to pay your rent and your living expenses.
Yeah, exactly. Especially most of the students are paying their own study fees. They don't have that kind of money before they come here. Yes, we are claiming that we will have that money in our bank account, but no one keep that money with them. They want to keep their own life. They want to earn their own money to pay their own fees. So it's really tough to keep this up all the time. And whatever you earn, it goes immediately to the student fees and rent and other expenses. So you can't live that Australian experience in Australia when you're a student. Really tough.
I think some people have an impression that the students that come here must have family money, they must be quite wealthy, but is that not the case in your experience?
Yes, not at all. Like for me, for example, I got supported from my family before I come here, and but I'm from Turkey. Turkey is not doing well at the moment. Economy is going really bad. My father, even though he's working same amount, he's not earning the same amount of money, and also the currency has been changed drastically in Turkey, so he can't support me. He never supported me. He supported me at the beginning, but I wanted to keep my own life separately from his as much as possible. And even though he wanted to, he couldn't do that anymore. So a lot of people around me, a lot of my friends around me, they are in the same situation. Whether or not they are from Turkey, they can't get that kind of support. They just want to earn their own salary, and they want to support themselves.
Well, I imagine a lot of students would also want to support their own families back home.
Yeah, actually. I even had to do that a couple of times to my family, which was weird and tough to think about it, because you sometimes you are in a bad situation and you have to do that. It's not your main object to do that when you come here, but life happens to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, no one thought that this would be the situation now. So a lot of students went back to their countries of origin. Was that something that you ever considered, Tugce?
I thought about it because when everything is locked down, I was thinking a solution, and there was nothing out there. I couldn't think about it. It was stressing me so much. And generally, I'm a person that try to find a solution and kind of plan my life according to that. But you're in a lockdown, you lost your job, you can't do anything. What you gonna do? Like, of course you're gonna consider that, like, at some point, without the job, nothing to do out there, you have to go back. But I knew that if I go back there, my case would be even worse. And I really wanted to continue my studying here and gain as much as experience in Australia as a chef. I considered that, but I kind of forced myself to stay here in a really tough situation. But if it couple of more months, like I couldn't find any job, I was going to go back, unfortunately.
Wow. I'm glad you stayed. Are you glad you stayed now?
Yes, definitely.
So your situation, this 20 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight that you're allowed to work. I mean, honestly, when I do the sums, I find it really hard to imagine how anybody could survive. I mean, let's say you're earning $30, which most people wouldn't be. I mean, that's still not really enough money to live on. I mean, did you have to do you hear about people who are living in, less than ideal housing, skimping on food or perhaps medical expenses simply to get by?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. A lot of people stayed in really crowded houses. They were living in a really unhappy life. And we were, before the lockdown, my husband, Alper, and my best friend, we were living together. After lockdown, we started to stay 6 people in a 2-bedroom house. We kind of managed that. It was, we tried to make it as fun as possible for ourselves, but we couldn't able to pay the rent. 3 of us. So we had to invite 2 more friends of ours who were suffering from the same situation. We helped each other out. And yeah, we managed to keep that going with 6 people.
Wow. Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a rich first world country that people should be in that situation, having to compromise in that way.
Yes, unfortunately, it is not. Yeah, we kind of felt that we are being pushed out, and especially political people were announcing that there's nothing to do, you have to go back, and we had to find our own solution to stay here and be safe and study. Yeah, this was our solution.
So it was announced a few weeks ago that because of the pressure on business, not because they're caring so much about students, but because businesses, hospitality businesses were finding it hard to get staff, that international students were going to have that limit on working hours removed, at least for a period. How did that news hit you?
I immediately thought it's amazing, but it's a bit late because it is an amazing thing to have, and it would have been so useful for me if that can happen 1 year ago. But we still a lot of students in here who need that kind of working hours and live a quality life, pay their expenses, and also getting help psychologically. I'm hearing a lot about this because since we passed the bad time, people are still suffering psychologically to continue their life. It's an amazing thing actually, without being worried, working 40 hours, even more than 40 hours. It will help a lot of people, starting from myself, and I'm really happy to have that.
Do you think it compromises people's studies?
It is a bit tough because you still have to study, and you have to manage that work and study life balance. But it is tough. I'm studying 2 days in a week, and also I need to continue studying to do my assignments. And extra working 40 hours, it is busy for a student. But I'm not complaining since it is helping me a lot. But it is kind of hard to manage that time.
Yeah. I mean, students are really, I guess, behind the 8 ball. As you mentioned, a lot of people need extra support, whether, appointments with a psychologist or, just counselling. But none of that, students aren't eligible for Medicare. So all of that has to be either paid out of pocket or perhaps could sometimes be covered by private insurance. But it's still not a level playing field. It's still you're still not like another university student.
Yes. Like your insurance company generally doesn't pay that. I heard that they are going to change this and like in favor of students. But till now, I'm still scared to go to see a doctor because I don't know what will be the consequences for me. So you kind of push yourself to not get sick. Try to avoid your problems if you need some psychological help, and you just postpone everything. Without health insurance, it's kind of a guessing game. If it's be enough, if it's going to be covered by an insurance, and this is the situation that worries me the most, actually.
Yeah, that sounds really worrying that you would be avoiding seeking medical help because, the insurance might not cover it. I feel really concerned about that, Tugce.
Yes. It is kind of a you feel trapped. I wanted to get some psychological help, but I didn't have any savings for that. So I just try to keep my positivity up, but it doesn't work that it wasn't working like that for me. So,
no, I mean, the power of positive thinking, that can go part of the way, but you can't just decide to be well. It's not that simple.
Yeah. That is a big problem for lots of students who are working hard, also studying really hard, and just like mentally it pushes you to some point. You consider what am I doing here and what are my options? Oh, I don't have any other options, don't I? So just kind of keep on going.
Yeah, I mean, look, even for Australian citizens, there's such a drain on mental health services. It's really hard to get appointments. You have to wait a long time. And just to have those other layers of difficulty as an international student, I just think it's, I mean, really everybody that's here needs to be looked after properly, whether or not they're a citizen. So, I'm really sorry that you're in that position.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, I am. I really feel it in my heart. Have you heard of people who are able to leave unsafe or underpaid cash jobs now that students are allowed to work legally more hours?
Not really. It's really new for everybody, but the students, like, it's a kind of a deal breaker for the restaurants who pay cash to the students because they were underpaying those students. So I don't know what happened, but I think students should defend their rights to get paid the legal amount and what they deserve, actually. But I'm sure there are places still pushing their employers to get underpaid. It never goes away to anywhere.
Yeah, well, I guess it's one thing to know that you should be getting paid more, but as you say, you know, like when you're not perhaps in a mental state to fight for your rights, that's really hard, and you still might be in that vulnerable position where somebody who's from your country, speaks your language, is telling you that this is how it has to be. I think it's really hard to break out of that, but I absolutely agree with you. Like, this is a time for anybody working in any restaurant or any business whatsoever, where there's such a shortage of employees. Like, the ball's in your court. You should absolutely not be accepting anything less than award wages and conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of weird that we are thinking student needs this kind of working like on limitation, but also restaurants need students more than students needs the restaurant, I guess, because now we are at the point that a lot of restaurants are suffering to find people to work in their places. So it's kind of work in both ways, but students must be the first priority to be supported, not the restaurants. So this decision is late and kind of missed the opportunity to support students first.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely been prompted from the business point of view, but it should hopefully allow students to find places or change the places where they are working and get those proper conditions.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Tugce, it's been so great to have you back on Dirty Linen. I'm really grateful to you for sharing your perspective with us today. How are you feeling about the future now?
I'm optimistic because it's gonna help a lot of people. It's gonna help me a lot, and yeah, it's gonna be better. But we have to support the students and other visa holders as well. And yeah, it's good to make people be more aware of this situation so they can empathize the situation more easily. And I'm really glad that people started to realize that. And yeah, good things going to happen.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tugce. And yeah, good luck with the next steps. It's really lovely to chat to you.
Thank you for giving me this chance. It's so lovely to be here.
Okay, take care. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about. We spend a week thrashing around each issue, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinenat deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This